So hello, everyone. Welcome to Humans of Moving, a Supermove Original Series. So get ready to crank up the knowledge and excitement because you just entered the powerhouse of relocation tales. I'm Ryan Marsh, your host, and we've got the lovely Felicia You on board with us today. So how's it going, Felicia?
It's going good, Ryan. Thanks so much.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving? So I gotta kind of have to pause here and stop. I heard from a little birdie that told me that you were actually out on Thanksgiving delivering meals to drivers.
Yes, you're absolutely accurate. So I know what it's like being on the road, and holidays sometimes can offer different challenges. A lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of loneliness, and truckers put something on the line to provide for their families. And I always want to remember where I come from. So I made 53 homemade Thanksgiving meals, and I passed them out. I hit up all of the household movers around my area in Somerset, New Jersey. And then after that, I went to a truck stop and hand delivered. I included wipes and, top ramen as well, and dessert, just like things to make them, know that they're not alone. So
What
it was
was
great.
you gotta act like what was the reaction, right? Like you're at the stops and here you come with a plethora of food and you're just like, thank you. I would have like, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. I've been there, I've done that. And for the audience that is listening and is not aware, I know I feel like you're just an industry legend at this point, even though I only met you
Thanks.
9 months ago. But you truly went from the seat of the truck, driving a tractor trailer, mind you. I saw the picture of the cab,
Yeah.
massive. I'd love to see how. So from driving that truck to basically the boardroom, as I'm going to call it,
Yeah.
with a phenomenal moving company. So if you don't mind ask you, like, can you take us back to the early days of your career as a driver and kind of what inspired, first of all, what in the hell inspired you to enter the moving industry? And what were some of the challenges that you faced? And when I say that, is there's challenges for all drivers, right? But
Oh,
I look
yeah.
back to my 12-year career in the moving industry. My first conference that we chat on a while back is there's 1,200 people there, and it was 99% men, right? There was
Yes.
5 or 6 women that were there, but they were there because they're getting awards for move coordination and some other pieces. And that was when it first kind of rang a bell. I'm like, wow, this is truly a male-dominated industry when I feel like there should be a ton of women in the industry just because of the interaction and the in-home service and piece. So if you don't mind,
Yeah.
what inspired you to jump in this industry and how'd you do what you did?
Yeah, no, that's good. Ryan, so my background is actually corporate IT sales and people management. And I got burnt out of working corporate America. And it's like, what am I going to do to make money? Well, what I did is I developed a crew up in Washington State. So I had 24 men, 2 ladies, a labor crew for all drivers across the board, and did very, very well. Didn't charge my guys any money to get the jobs. But then I'm like, let me take this a step further. What can I do where I can travel and make money? So I got my CDL, went on the road, and it was something that most people would be like, are you losing your mind? I'm like, yeah, when I'm trying to back this up, the 53-foot trailer, and I've got to turn the wheel the opposite way and all these different things. Plus, I'm a woman, and us women, I'm all about women empowerment, but damn, can I not drive very well? But you're going to get this, you got this. And then it became more of like, I'm going to do this to empower myself and other women around me. That the idea of being a woman in a dominated male industry, we come from a service industry though. And so I took all I knew in business and applied it to the moving industry and did extremely well and developed different groups amongst different websites, where I was able to really lean on what's going on in the industry. How can I make a difference? Well, I'm going to make a difference by leading by example. And I would practice wrapping furniture at home, how to properly pack a dish pack. And I would really lean on the expertise, the wisdom. A lot of people in the household industry, they have been in the industry, they're generational movers, right? And there's some power behind that. But coming in from a female's perspective, I didn't want to be just a packer. In fact, I'd rather run the stairs than pack any day. But the difference that comes when a woman's on a job with the shipper is the whole dynamics of the job change. And I had a lot of drivers that, for one, they would hire me because I'm a woman. And then secondly, because they knew that it was going to make a difference on their job. And so, like I said, the dynamics change. It went from like a bunch of burly men entering their home to, oh, here's this little dainty woman. And she actually cares about the parts being here, or what's important or what's not important. Not that men don't, but we just have a different take on things. So I was able to apply that and become friends, right? You want to become friends and you want to make sure that people feel like they're the most important person at that time. So that's really what I did. Being behind the wheel, it taught me a lot about myself. I was able to face the good, the bad, and the ugly, if that makes any sense. And I told myself when I would go back into corporate America that I would not allow myself to become corporate America again. So that's where I'm at now today. I'm director of sales for the Northeast region for Bud Van Lines. I'm from Washington State, so being an outsider coming into the Northeast is quite different for one. Doing business with people that don't know you, but having the backing of my company has been vital. But at the end of the day, people do business with you as an individual, and doing those extra things, whatever that looks like in your day to day, you need to do those. So like the personal thank you cards, door knocking with, have you thought about this? Here's some felt pads, right? If I'm going to be on a delivery, I'm going to make sure I bring roses, or something of that sort, just to make them feel welcome, special, and appreciated.
Now, I mean, if you're delivering food to truck stops on Thanksgiving, I couldn't imagine like on move day, if you're moving me, like, I guess that's the other thing. Like, what was the reaction? Like, I've got to know, I've got to ask, like, when you showed up to that house and you jumped out of that massive truck, and typically, people are thinking, oh, some big burly guy with a beard and, cigarette hanging out of the mouth is going to
Yeah.
show at my house. And here you come, probably dressed to the nines, I would assume, gigantic smile, bringing that energy. And here's Felicia. Like, what was the reaction?
First, they'd just be like, oh, like, you're my mover. And I couldn't have done it without my crews. And all my crews were so great to me. And they were, like, don't do anything, Miss Fee. And I'm just like, no, 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 it's my job. I'm gonna put dish packs on my back. I'm gonna run the stairs with you. I'm gonna help you wrap furniture because I want to own it. But my shippers were always amazed. The first thing that the kids would say is, they do like honk the horn. Of course, I'm the honk the horn. It's a big show, as I'm coming in through the neighborhood. But then it was a matter, can I see the inside? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in your home. I'm going to welcome you into my home. Just take your shoes off, take your shoes off. And they couldn't believe it. And that's taken me to so many different levels. I will have to say that people discredit the blue collar work that's out there. I made so much incredible
100%.
money. I made great friendships out there. I learned so much about business in general by being a truck driver that makes me better at what I do in the boardroom, so to say. Being able to take the dynamics of the different types of people I'm working with, from my crews to my shippers. At the end of the day, we all bleed the same. We all bleed the same. And we all want that special attention. And all people really care about is that you care about what's important to them.
That's just your story is truly inspiring. And obviously we've only just like scraped the cap of the iceberg with it, but I still want to go back to you. Like, oh, it's incredible. Like, do you remember your first job in the
Oh, I
truck
do.
or pulling up to that home? Like the nerves were probably on edge, and no, my luck, it was probably a cul-de-sac or something. We had to back. It's probably just, I don't know. Like, your first move, do you remember who it was, where it was? Obviously you don't have to say the name, but does that one
Yeah.
stand out to you? Because I remember my first time in the moving industry, my first COD sale, we'll say, went into the home, and it was in Ithaca, and it was just like a hoarder's mess. And I pulled out my
Yeah.
tariff books. I'm stressing out, trying to like flip to the tariff book to make sure I'm accurate. But at the same time, I've got people hovering over my shoulder, wondering a price. Again, we didn't have technology back then, right? So it was like a
Right.
annual piece. And I'm like, I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I conducted business that way. It wasn't that it was wrong. It was just like, there's so many better ways to do it. And we didn't have the technology. So like your first job, what was that like? And I'm sure the accomplishment of once from womb to tomb with that job, you were done, you got the high fives, the thank yous. And was it like, wow, I did it. I'm there. Like, what was that feeling?
Yeah. I mean, well, the inside was a whole different world than what was seen on the outside. The inside, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? How am I going to get this done? And of course, it would be just like the worst case scenario, in the cul-de-sac. I have got super nice customer, but definitely a hoarder. And it was paid for by their company, but it was a lump sum. So they were trying to save money on this, save money on that. Their mother-in-law lived with them. They've got two kids that are autistic. I mean, they've got five dogs, two cats,
Oh,
a bird, and a chicken running around. And I'm like, okay, how can I do this? Of course, I hire the best because you're only as good as your crews out there. And it was a matter of like before I go into any job, I've got my little upbeat music that I'm putting on in my truck, you know, and you're awesome. You're a badass. You're going to go in there. You're going to kill it. You know,
Time
you're
to
going to
pump it
work
up.
like a man and kill him like a woman. You know, that was always my thing. And so I went in there and I always talked to my crews beforehand and so they would know exactly what the game plan is. And you just have to own it. And I went in there with like my little notes and this is what this room is called. This is what this is called. Here's my blue tape. Let's do this. And then all of a sudden the wife just starts bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, and the guys are looking at me and I'm like, it's okay. It's all right. Go finish prepping, you know, the downstairs, prep the side rails, you know, do all these things. And I said, I brought you some coffee. I don't know if you like cream. I don't like if you like sugar. I don't even know if you like coffee, but I've got coffee and I've got hot water and tea. Let's sit down for a minute. Let's come up with what's going on and what can I do to make your move successful. And she
Wow.
just went and she's like, thank you. I just needed somebody to acknowledge me. And I said, you've got all my attention. Of course, you know, we're movers. So we're trying to get in and out. That's the end of the game. That's really what it is. No matter how you try to, you know, make it beautiful or make it seem, we want to take care of the customer, but we're all on a timeline. I've got this clock, you know, just ticking behind me. And I gave her 10 minutes of my time. I walked around with her with some blue tape, some little notepads, some Post-its, and her own marker. And I let her get involved. And she was taking pictures. She was actually able to go through her special area, which was a huge room. I couldn't even see on top of my like anything that was going on in this room because there was so much stuff, but it was her stuff, right? And it was important to her. So I had my guys doing other things that needed to get done, and I just handled it one-on-one with her. To this day, I'm still friends with her.
Oh
Her name
wow.
is Bethany. She put me in her, like she made a whole book of her like move experience. She wrote a letter to my company saying how grateful she was. And we talk about every 2 months, she checks in on me. I check in on her. So that was like my first move. Now, getting out of the neighborhood was terrible. I about took out a mailbox and to get out. And I
That's not
was
too
like,
bad.
oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But my crew was so amazing. They were so good to me. They're like, it's okay, Miss Fee, let's grab the plywood. You got this. I'm like, I got this. I
Yeah.
got this. So I put on my I got this music, which, you know, I'll refrain from saying which songs, you know, that is. But it was like, you got this. You got this. And about 45 minutes later, I got out, which was good. Nothing was terribly wrong. I was able to get the mailbox post back in and I didn't hit anything. So yeah, that's how it
Yeah,
went.
'cause you mentioned something to me that really stood out and stuck with me here is I know back when I was in the industry, what happened for the 12 plus years, it was I always heard our crews, I wonder what the customer is going to provide us. I wonder what the customer is going to buy us for lunch, or I wonder if they're going to tip us, or I wonder if, and you just had mentioned that you rolled into that house and you had something for the customer, right? I mean,
Yes.
what to put that, I look at that and I'm just like, how amazing is that, right? Because I feel like oftentimes drivers and crews roll into these homes like, yeah, I'm the guy that's gonna, or the person that's gonna go ahead and move you in this. What are you doing for me? I'm the
Yeah.
one that's running the stairs. I'm the one that's doing the tiers, and I'm the doing the packing. But it sounds like you flip that and like, hey, I'm here to service you. I mean, we are servants in the
Yes.
industry. This is a people piece service based industry. That's a great
Yes.
point. I wonder. I mean, and you're still friends today, and you
We're still
taking that
friends
extra
today.
10 minutes
Yeah.
to calm her, to soothe her. And let's face it, moving is one of the top three stressors in the world. I mean, next to
Ah,
divorce, and you're either really happy to move, really sad to move, or you're forced to move, or were the kind of the top
right.
three things when I was out there in the field. And along with you making friends in the industry, I still have many friends that I've moved. I mean, some I wish we weren't really good friends with,
Yeah.
but
Right.
it's amazing, like the amount of relationships you can get for taking that extra 10 minutes, right?
That's all
And
it takes.
diving into their life. And I always told our folks, like, you're not just moving couches and boxes,
No.
you're moving their damn lives, right?
Everything.
You're moving everything they have. And whether we think there's value to or not, it doesn't even matter, right? I mean, you're
Yes.
picking up everything that these people worked hard for. You're getting it on the truck, and hopefully it makes it to destination without mailboxes being ripped off and things like that.
Yes.
But no, I mean,
Yeah, and I think that's what people forget, right? We get caught up in the hustle and the bustle, and you know, we gotta book more moves, we gotta do this, we gotta knock it out, we gotta get on to the next one. I remember back in my lumping days, it was like, can I double dip? Can I triple dip? You know, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I want to make as much money as I can in one day. But then when I took a step back and I'm like, wait a second, if I double dip, okay, that's another $600 in my pocket for the day. but is it going to interfere with me being able to do those extra things for my drivers, right? So I didn't truly understand the complexity of what my drivers were going through when I was a lumper. I knew that they were making big money. I knew that they were away from their family, and I knew that they were the big dog, so to say. But I didn't realize till I was behind the wheel that it's so hard to get to an ATM. It's hard to stop at a store. It's hard to do just the things that we take for granted until I was actually behind the wheel. And I said, oh my gosh, I've got to go, 5,000 miles out of my way to stop at the ATM, and I can only get into Walmart, and I hope that they don't boot my truck, I mean, all these different things. And so what I did as a lumper that, really helped me was I would make sure I took care of the driver. So when I came into the driver's seat, it was a matter of, okay, I'm going to make sure I take care of my customer and my crews.
Yep.
So my crews, I would make food for my crews. Not all the time would it be something fancy. It could be anything from, I'm Asian, so I'd make a quick slaw with some rice, or it could
Ooh.
be homemade chili, spaghetti, whatever it was, sandwiches, chips, drinks. I want them to feel taken care of. But my customers always got 100% of my attention. I'm going to bring the felt pads. I'm going to bring you coffee. I'm going to bring you tea. I'm going to bring you snacks because I already know it's a stressful time. Those things make a difference. If you think that they don't, they do. And so because I was able to develop great relationships with my crews, there was times where I couldn't get to the store in time. So I'd call the crew leader, hey, can you make it to the store for me? I need to grab XYZ and I'll Venmo you the money. Absolutely, fee, no problems. And then after we were all done, I would have, I'd pick up random cards, whether it was from a Walmart or Walgreens, it didn't matter, wherever I could fit. And I would have my crew sign, just thanks for letting us be part of the move, and their names, whatever they wanted to sign. And I would give it to the customer and their faces would be like, are you serious? This is for me? Really? And I'm like, it's from the whole crew. Because it was never just about me. It was about my crew.
It's the hair stands up. You're making the hair
I love
stand.
it.
From the first time we met, I feel like we hit it right off. Just in more or less
We
that
did.
customer experience piece, right? I mean, that was
Yeah.
huge for me. Obviously, I mean, you live, breathe, and sleep this. I can see it. I can feel
Yes.
it right through the camera here. And obviously, you're doing it for Bud Van Lines, which, as you know, I did a little bit of work for Bud Van Lines back when I worked for my agent doing QC checks and some other things.
Yeah.
And we've always wanted. It was my favorite time when I got the email or the phone call, and they're like, "Hey, would you mind?" I'm like, absolutely. I learned so much from the Bud Van Lines way, the way the drivers operated, the way the crew operated, and how they treated that customer. So I feel like you kind of set the tone there with all of that, doing the special things, but I just feel like that's just kind of across the board
It
with Bud.
is.
I was always excited going there because I always took away a couple nuggets of, wow, I didn't think about, putting this underneath the walkboards because it's on the customer's driveway. Never thought about
Mhm.
scratching the concrete driveway, but you all did that. Along
Mhm.
with many, many, many other things. And I don't think there was
Right.
ever a time that I went and did a QC check for Bud Van Lines where the customer was like, there was zero frustration. If anything, it
Yeah.
was happiness, and they wanted to like help you all because you work so damn hard throughout the day.
Yeah.
They felt the need to chip in and pitch in, which obviously you all shut that down, said, no, 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 let
Yes.
us do the work. You all sit back, relax, and let us get you moving. So no, what you have done, and again, from that driver's seat to the boardroom, and I think, and that's kind of what kind of segue into the next question is from being on the road, right? Being
Right.
that driver, actually being that lumper or labor that you were, to the
Mhm.
driver, to now in the space that you're in. I mean, I'm sure you've taken away many learnings and insights, and it probably
Yeah.
just processes in general of like, hey, I learned this on the road. How do we get this to our sales reps, to our operational team?
Yes.
So what are some of those nuggets, I think, that for somebody that was in your shoes, or in your boots, I guess, or whatever you wore on the
Yeah.
job, what are some nuggets that they could take away of like a transitioning kind of from that driver, if they want to get off the road, they want to get into the boardroom or into sales or operations? Are there any couple key takeaways that truly helped you, or was it probably you kind of learned along as you went?
Well, I think the biggest things, my takeaways are never be afraid to voice your opinion, no matter what. Myself coming in, for one, I'm like the new kid on the block. I've got operational experience, hands-on, very quite different from everyone else. Internally, which adds a different value, but that gives me an opportunity to speak the truths about what's going on out there in the real world. As far as I looked at it, being into the sales role is I can't efficiently sell something that's BS. I'm not going to do it. It's just not, it's my name, it's who I am. And I wouldn't expect my company to want me to do that anyways. But if I'm ever in a position where I feel that that doesn't quite align with the realities of what's going out there in the real world, I voice my opinion. I make sure that I'm talking to operations. I'm more involved than most people in areas I should not be involved in, so to say. Stay in my lane. As far as I look at it, all these are my lanes. I'm here
Yes.
to make the company better. And because of my expertise that I bring from the road and as a laborer, working for multiple different van lines, I've only been employed by Bud Van Lines for Relo's side. So I only know Bud's ways, but I do know how the drivers from other van lines would be, how their trucks would look, how their service would look, to the actual customer itself. So I'd really take a step back and ask yourself, A, what is it that you're looking for? Is it that you're burnt out of the road? And why are you burnt out of the road? Because it's different things that you're going to encounter once you're in a different role when I'm talking from an office side of things. Second, can I work in an office? I myself hate being in the office all the time. I'm more of a connector. Let
Can't
me
see
meet with
you in an
people. Let me
office.
go out. Yeah, like I
I can
can't
see you
sit
sitting
behind a
down for like
computer.
a half hour on a phone call. Than that, you're like, I'm out. I'm going.
Yeah, I'm a talker, I'm a walker, I'm anxious. And the third is to really evaluate which company do you want to go to. People tend to burn their name by jumping from one company to another. And I know a lot of people in our industry have done it, and I'm not speaking anything bad about them, but it's finding your niche, it's finding an area that you feel that you have value. And then the people that you have in your life that are your mentors are so important. Being able to have those honest conversations with them and saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Right? What are your thoughts about this? Or can you shadow somebody that you would like to see yourself in a similar role? Can you talk to me offline about the realities of your job? Not the BS about what you're going to tell people, but about how does your day to day look? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And then find yourself a company that values you. Number one is the most important, that they value you as an individual and what you bring to the table. And then second, do you have an opportunity to grow within that position? Do you want to stick with a certain title? Is it a title that you're looking for? Is it a salary that you're looking for? But it really starts internally. And if you don't know where to go, you ask for help.
Yeah.
Ask for help. And it's okay to ask people that you don't know. Surround yourself with like-minded people, but never be the smartest one in the room, ever.
Exactly. I can tell you, I am never the smartest one in the room.
Same.
But
Me
hey,
too.
it's for you just surrounding yourself with, some of the bright minds of this industry.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted to. I'm like, I've got to get you on this, the humans
Thank
of,
you.
because you're truly paving the way. And, and we've chatted before. It's like, again, and I know I said this in the beginning part of the show there, but when I first started, there was hardly any women, right? I
Yeah.
feel like I am dealing with more women now, leadership roles, ownership roles,
Yes.
sales, not just the admin work pushing paper anymore. I mean,
Right.
like truly critical roles. And that's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, I feel like the home services aspect, moving, what have you, we need to get more women involved. I
Mhm.
know in my day, I don't know the percentage, I guess you say, but more times than not, I pull up to that home and it was a random guy going in to visit the women, to tour the house. They've got the kids of this. I always felt like I did a really good job of making them comfortable, but I couldn't
Yes.
imagine like somebody like yourself walking in there. I can guarantee
Yes.
you that guard is down. The
It
conversation is going to
is.
be better, deeper, and stronger across the board. So I had a way of doing things because I knew our competition locally, they just show up to the house and barge in and what have you. So I always make sure I was dressed according to the neighborhoods I was in, the
Yes.
state
So
between New York
important.
and Pennsylvania. I wasn't going to try to dress up like some crazy sales guy. I was going to
Yeah.
dress like the weather, the season in the area, but I
Yeah.
always made that phone call well ahead of time and just say, hey, it's Ryan here. Again, I'm pulling in a silver F-150. Windows
Yes.
are tinted, by the way. So this light
Yes.
play, I tried to give them a little something so that it wasn't just this random guy knocking on the door. And I felt like that paved the way for a lot of things. But
Yeah.
to have women in the industry, I just feel like it needs to grow, and I'm excited to see that it is growing. And you're leading the way with that, Felicia, and it's really
Oh,
cool to
thank
be a part
you.
of. So
Thank you. And it's a matter of, I love what you said, Ryan, is, the checking in before, this is what I'm driving. It's those little things that whether you're a man or a woman that do make a difference. Like now in my current role, I do a lot of quality control checks. So I always do a call to the customer, right? The shipper the night before, I'm going to show up. I send them a picture of me in my car so they know what I'm coming in. And is there anything specific that you need? It's usually a no, right? But if it's at delivery, I'm going to bring flowers, felt pads, right? If it's, if they are packing up and moving, I'm going to bring hand sanitizer, wipes, if they're driving, snacks, whatever it might be, with the Bud Van Lines, reusable bag, of course,
Oh,
anybody that can advertise. I'm going to put that little plug in. It's always important, but it takes one bad review, right? And then all of a sudden you're going, oh my gosh, what do I do now? But honesty is the best policy.
yes.
Being honest, staying on top of your communication, talking to people like they're people. Obviously there's a thin line that you don't want to cross from being a friend to being a professional mover. But just dealing with people how you would want to be dealt with. And then as far as a woman goes, right, there's extra things that we have to go through as women, working in a very much respected male dominated industry. For one, I felt like I had to prove myself, sometimes a little bit more than others. I've got the bruises and like the scars still to prove it. But showing that I wanted it, and how I would show it was going to be a matter of, I'm going to ask, like, you've been doing this for 20 some years. Can you show me your technique on how do you move the sofa accurately? I'll never forget my very first moving job as a lumper. I tried to take out a queen bed frame. Didn't know I had to take it apart. Down the stairs, I couldn't figure it out. And I've got two guys at the below the staircase, which is a wraparound, laughing at me, watching me. And I'm like struggling. I'm 5'2.5". I'm a $120. I've got this huge ass queen bed frame all in one piece. Okay. And all of a sudden, as I'm trying to make the turn, of course, it's not going to fit.
Yeah.
I hit the wall. And these two guys are down below the staircase, laughing their asses off at me. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? They come up and they're like, you need to take it apart. And I'm like, you could have told me that, but it was an initiation, fine. But it did cost me some money because of course I had to repair the wall. So I go tell the driver and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's, stressed out. I said, if you're okay with it, because he's the boss, I'm like, can I go talk to the customer myself? Can I go talk to the shipper? Can I make this right? And he said, whatever you think is going to make it right. I said, okay, I'll pay for the damage of the wall. I got it. So I went, I talked to the shipper and I said, I'm sorry, Miss Eileen. I was like, I need to show you something. I made a huge mistake. This is your home. There's no excuses, but I'm going to make it right. Do you have extra paint? Let me show it to you. And she's like, oh, honey, that little thing, no big deal. And I go, well, can I tell you the funny part of it? And then I told her and she was just like, now that's funny. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, everything is good. So you will make mistakes, but if you see somebody and you know that there's an easier way or a better way, let them know, educate each other. I've learned the most incredible things from people that have taken the time, whether it's a second or 2 minutes, to explain to me. I don't need you to do it for me because I'm a woman. No, that would be the easy way out. What I want to know is, why did you do it this way and how did you do it? And sometimes I might need you to explain that and show that to me. Obviously, not always enough time to do that, but before we're done, I'm going to make sure I understand completely so I don't make that mistake again. And then I'm going to educate other people ahead of me.
And you mentioned something that it struck a little chord with me, and I got a little fired up real quick because we had to deal with this. And I know many moving companies still operate with this today when it comes to crew lead and their crews. You mentioned the word initiation, right? And yeah. I know everyone's been initiated in this industry, but to see you at the top of the stairs, right? I mean, ultimately, we want that customer experience to be top notch. We want to minimize claims as much as we can. Let's face it, there's a claim on every move. We just don't hear about it because of our interactions or our truth to the customer as, hey, I did a little wall damage. Ooh, I did scratch grandma's rocking chair, but we're upfront, we're honest, we're transparent with it. And a lot of the times when you are that way, the claim goes away. The claim never happens because you
never happens.
Understand. But to sit there to see you struggle, and not just a woman in general, not a woman, a man, it doesn't matter who's up there, to see you struggling on a second floor, trying to get a queen bed while two guys are laughing. Like, and I get it, it's an initiation piece, but at the expense of what? Damage? An unhappy customer? Not cool with that at all. Like, I'm not, again, I know that happens. I know it's out there. Me personally, if that was me at the bottom of the stairs, one, you being a new lead or a new crew member, I would have probably been with you up there to let you know and show you how to break down the bed. See if you not leave you alone, then you want to bring the piece down, great. But to watch another teammate sit there and struggle at the potential expense of a customer is something that we've got to get away from that in this industry.
We have to.
It still goes on, and I'm sure you still see it, not necessarily with Bud Van Lines, but in the industry is
in general.
In general.
Yeah, in general. And I don't know why the reasons are, whether it's a battle of egos, who is better, who is that. But something that made me fall in love with this industry is the idea of community, the idea of family. Coming in, never having any type of skill set. I mean, I've always worked my whole life, but I've never done physical labor, first of all. I've never done it. I mean, I would practice and practice. And I didn't learn at a company. Yes, I learned off of YouTube, 100%. And yes, I still pack my wine glasses in 1.5s and then into dish packs. Yes, I do. I 100%, I do. And but to learn as I was going, and I was a leader, right? Because I was a crew lead, I knew how to run a business. That part I knew, but I never put myself above the idea that I didn't know the day ins and day outs, which you need to know in order to be a successful business owner. I utilized the strength of my crew. And then for the people that were laughing at the, bottom of the footsteps, the stairs, they did not make the cuts. It didn't make any sense. But we need to get away from it. It's a battle between you and I. Well, typically there would be enough work out there for all of us. I know that we're facing, a different time in our economy. So there is sense to be like, oh my gosh, I got to grab everything. But we're losing the true identity of who we are as movers. Who are we as movers? What makes us so different? Why can only a few of us really be movers? That heart, that passion. Yes, the moving game has changed. Yes, we are doing sidewall loading instead of just from the top down. It doesn't matter. Things are different. So embrace it, the new style, the old style, and combine the efforts, but get away from the egotistical crap. Right.
Yes.
At the end of the day, at whose expense? The customers, the drivers. You're thinking about this one job that you think is going to be a funny, I'm going to put, this person through initiation. Well, you just lost a customer, a driver, for one, whether that's important to you or not. And if you don't think it's important, then you're definitely missing the boat. Because that's where you get your business, right? It was a matter of, I know my people are going to eat during the winter if we do all these extra things for the drivers. I know that my people are going to eat during the winter if I go the extra mile with the customer. I will sweep out the customer's garage. I will vacuum their carpets before they're rolled up. It was an expectation on my job. And yes, we're going to label all the parts. Yes, we're going to do all these extra things. Why? Because I'm looking for longevity, because I want their referrals. I want them to say, Bea did a great job. Her and her crew were amazing. All of a sudden, that helps the driver, which therefore helps the crew, which therefore helps your family. And people forget about that. So take the time, take the egos away. We're all in this together. It's hard work. So do it together as a team. And don't just do it for somebody. Teach each other how to do it right. If somebody would tell me how to use straps, right? How to effectively use straps as I'm putting a dish pack on my back, I could have done so much more. I would have been more dangerous in the very beginning, but people didn't want to teach me for whatever reasons they are. So ask for help. Don't be afraid. And even if somebody doesn't ask you for help and you see them struggling, just take a minute and show them, hey, by the way, have you ever thought about doing it this way? It will be helpful.
You just slam packed, and that's that whole powerhouse of relocation tales. You just basically did that. I mean, one, kudos to you for driver's seat to boardroom. Obviously, your customer experience you've provided throughout your career and still continue to provide is absolutely unparalleled. And I can't wait for the next time. When's the next show you're going to go to? Is there any events coming up that I could possibly get in and see at?
Oh my gosh, I have been all over the place. I mean, we saw each other last at the New Jersey Warehouse Movers Association convention, which was incredible.
Show. Tracy,
wow.
Talk about, I'd love to have Tracy on. I should have brought Tracy on too.
Tracy needs to come on.
Stands up on the arms when I hear her name. And I'll tell you why. Obviously, being new to, I've been to a lot of conferences and events and conventions, but it was for typically one van line that I was a part of for as many years. So now that I've got to experience all the different associations, events, and other things, I was a little nervous about coming to New Jersey, right? There's that stigma on New Jersey and the people. And I got there a little bit early, like I traditionally do, and I walked in, and I knew what Tracy looked like from the email signature, but it's different, And I walked in and just looked over, and she said, "Ryan was Supermove." I was like, "Tracy?" Big old hug, big old hug. And at that moment, I'm just like, and she walked me over to my space, and I'm just like, "How awesome is that?" Like,
and they really are like a pillar of what our industry needs in every state and every municipality and every county, of the right way of doing things, So I am not on the board for the New Jersey Warehouse Movers Association, but I was asked to be part. And it's so funny because it's one of our competitors, and I will leave his name out, but he is on the board and he said, we want Fee to be part of us. We want her story is amazing. I've been following her on Facebook. I know what she's about, and we'd be so lucky to have her. And then I got a call from Tracy and got to know her. She got to know me. And it was like, all of a sudden I'm part of all these committees. And then I was asked to be on the sales panel and to
Oh,
be in a room full of wisdom. When I say wisdom, we're talking generations of movers.
yes.
I'm the new kid on the block. So I'm fresh meat. I am up there with like these well-known industry leaders, and I'm part of them. And I have a different outtake. And of course, I was nervous and I was, I'm still trying to close deals at the same time, and so it was just a crazy hot mess. But wow, they try to educate. They are very honest and they're so very helpful. I have sent people over to Tracy saying, hey, they're trying to start their own moving business. Can you help direct them so that they're not, doing things that they shouldn't be doing? Or, hey, I have a question about this or a question about that. We are all competitors in some sense, but in order for our industry to truly survive, we need to take advantage of the
Yes.
New Jersey Warehouse Movers Associations that are out there,
Absolutely.
right? To make sure that we are not missing on any cylinders that could negatively affect our business financially.
No, I too as well. I love to be on the board of New Jersey, but you've got to be 5 years member
Yeah,
with them, and I think we're at year 4, so I've got a little bit of time there. But I told her like from the event that she threw, and I tell you what was heart wrenching to me, or touching. I shouldn't say wrenching. I guess you could say wrenching, right? It
yeah.
doesn't matter what it is the tribute that they did
Oh,
at the final dinner. Now I didn't know the gentleman at all. Now I met him at the
yeah,
conference, didn't know the impact he's had on the moving
yeah.
industry, the impact that he's had on that association. But what she put out, like it had tears in my eyes. I don't get very
Me
emotional
too.
when it comes to that stuff, but I'm just
Yeah,
like that. The power of caring and the power of what Tracy and team are doing is really, really commendable. And I said, hey, I want to be a
yes,
part of that, whether it's a committee or
yes,
a planning board. I'll drive however far it is
yes.
to help out. You want to be a part of a team like that. So Tracy, if you are seeing this, shout out to you. Kudos. Didn't realize we are going to turn this into the New Jersey network here, but
Yeah,
well deserved, right? So I guess kind of lastly,
very
before
well
I
said.
break off into the hot seat questions for you, obviously a lot of
Okay.
women are going to be listening and obviously going to be following you, which they already are. Is there any mentor programs or anything that you recommend for women that are new to the industry or maybe transferred from driver to office, or if they've been just a standard admin and they really want to push the cuffs to be a salesperson or to be a sales manager, what have you? Are there any groups or anything that they can join to, you know, to dive into brilliant minds like yours, sort of say? Is there anything that's
Yeah.
out there that, I mean, if there are, drop the plugs for them because again, I'm all personally, I know Supermove and myself, all about helping this industry and making this industry as strong as we can. And we can only do it with the people that we're in front of. So
Mhm. Well, those are great. That's great. So I'm always available. You can message me on LinkedIn. My cell phone is very public. I'm available by text, however you want, and I can help direct you. I start off on the moving pages online on Facebook, and there's different movers groups. I love the Mover Syndicate. I was a big advocate for them, but there are different moving sites, so to say. There is women in moving, there's women in trucking, there is all kinds of different things that are out there for women specifically. But I will say this with the caveat: be mindful of who you talk to, because sometimes we don't realize that people have agendas, and not that they mean to be cruel about it, but try to find somebody that's outside of your normalcy of people. And I mean that with all good heart and respect to the relationships I do have. But it was a lot of fundamental people that were outside of my normal comfort zone that I talked to and that I reached out to. And it doesn't have to be just women. I would say that you find people that you might know, see who that they are well connected with, and ask for them to connect you with them. Because you also don't want the stigma of your old self into your new self. Sometimes people don't know how to correlate them both. Oh, now you went from a driver to now you're going to be doing the office stuff. Oh, you're so different. Well, no, not really. I'm not different because I remember what it's like to be on the road, and I'll never forget. So as I'm making food for these truckers, right? This is me showing that I understand, but I also want to stay relevant because that's the difference I make in the world that I'm in today. So another thing is like book clubs, so actually there's a women's group that's separate that I meet with, and Tracy's part of that, and we talk about anything that we are facing as women. You can also have a book. I mean, you can create one of yourself. I just created my own mentorship program. I've got 13 different women that I work with. And right now we're going over positive intelligence. Right? How does that apply to anything that we do? And we're from all aspects of the businesses, not just mobility. We're talking pharmaceutical, we're talking, furniture. It doesn't matter. If you want to be better, we've got you. So there's also meetup groups that you can look at for your local area. Go to meetup groups. Well, it could be dating, but you don't have to go to that part. But it could just be like-minded individuals. And then you just start opening the doors. And LinkedIn is a huge value source. So go to LinkedIn, find the different groups out there. And if you need help, please don't hesitate to ask. I will help guide you.
I think I just came up with a new startup idea for dating, movermingle.com. I think,
Well, I've been trying to think of a way to find a venue, because all these movers like to talk so much crap about who is the toughest mover out there, and do almost just like a venue of like, you've got the staircase, you've got the kitchen
Mover challenge,
packing.
like a Mover Olympics.
Yeah. Would that not be awesome?
Let's get Tracy on board. I'm sure she'd want to do something like that, right? But I know I
Yeah.
go against you. I've seen pictures of you top tier, that gigantic tractor trailer that you had. And I'm not a big fan of heights, so you're not going to catch me up top there grabbing those fragile items in them light boxes. But we're getting a little close on time here. So you ready for the hot seat questions?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. So here we go. If you could have any superpower for one day, what would it be and how would you use it?
Ooh.
I know what mine
That
is.
is a good one, Ryan. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Superpower. I would have to say I would want to be invisible.
Ooh.
And the reason why is because I really believe that you absorb the energy of people around you. And depending on your audience, we just tend to change, right? So I would want to be invisible in all situations, and just place myself around different types of people to really understand how they are as a person, understand humanity in general. And that would be from all aspects of life and walks. That's what I would want to do. And then I'd write a freaking book about it.
This is the third time you've had the hair stand up my arms. I was not expecting that answer. So me personally, I'd want to fly.
You want to fly? Why would you want to fly?
Many reasons, but one, just to get away. Instead of hopping in the car, and I love to drive, right? So I'll get in the car and I'll drive here or there, whatever, but just the ability to fly, and just that peacefulness, and spreading the wings, and just kind of feeling that power of being 10,000 feet in the air, even 500 feet in the air, just gliding throughout, and just different perspective looking down, right? I mean, I know every time I fly, I look down, it's just like it puts things into perspective to me. So for me, the ability to fly, I think, would be awesome. But now that you said invisible, I might have to echo that and give that a shot. I'd love to be around and hear what my wife says when I'm not around, right?
Well, that would be the scary part. That would be the scary part. I think the biggest thing is that we all have something we desire, right? And sometimes we think it's impossible to get there. Having a good support system is so important, but it's not the ultimate end of all if you don't create one. I can't create my own superpower, but I have a great tribe of people around me that I could say, hey, I want to be invisible for the day. How could we do this? Right? Whether that's a green screen or whatever, they would try to figure it out. But where I'm going with that is whatever it is that you want to do in this world, put it out there, write it down, take the emotions out of it. What is it going to take to get there? And if you're that serious about it, talk to the people around you. Talk to them. And it's a scary time. Yes, there's not everybody that you can sit there who wants to be your friend. Sometimes we don't need friends. Sometimes we need somebody to say, this is how I've done it and this is what it takes, or you're going to have to need some investors to do this or do that. Then my next questions would be, who are the investors? Who can I go after? Does this make sense? So don't be afraid. Go after it and believe that you are worth so much more than what you give yourself credit for. Just do it.
That's awesome. 2 more questions for you in the hot seat. What's the weirdest thing that you believed in as a child?
Ooh, well, until recently, I actually thought that there was still trolls.
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't
He's
have
still
the
a
normal.
partial believer. I
Yeah,
always
so
had an issue with the tooth fairy. Like
the
really,
tooth fairy.
a tooth falls out and you pack it under your pillow. Like who wants a nasty tooth? And then you're gonna leave me money for it. But I believe in that to the point where I was like trying to pull teeth out to get $5.
Pineapple tooth.
Very
Yeah,
weird.
no, I mean, the tooth fairy was, I'm a mom. Obviously, all my kids are grown and they're off in college, which is so crazy, which is great. So most people my age are having young babies, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where's the Robitussin? And do you need you need some time off? Let me just like they're going to be fine. It's okay. But yeah, for me, I was actually recently on a date and it was some movie, and there was trolls, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder how they survived. And this guy's looking at me like, are you serious? And I'm just like, well,
There's no
trolls,
trouble.
yeah. Like I just said it with all conviction. And he's like, you tell me you really don't think that trolls are real. And I'm like, they're not. And then I was like, okay, this is not a good fit. Yeah, I'm gone. And then I'm
Yeah,
researching, are trolls real? I literally thought trolls were real, but they're not.
it's okay. Well,
It's okay. It's
and
all right.
lastly, if you could eat one thing for the rest of your life, and one thing only, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm an ex-fatty. Yes. So I love to eat anything fried or chocolate. I would have to say cake.
Cake? I go pizza. Never
Okay.
fail.
Pizza
Pizza.
as a mover. That is
Pizza as a
crazy.
mover is terrible, yes. But
Yeah.
again, now I'm no longer on the moving side, but guess
Yep.
what? I will eat pizza all day. So
So what kind of pizza is the question, right? Because there's always this talk. So when I came to the Northeast, everyone's like, oh, you got to have the New York pizza. Or if I'm in
New Haven
Chicago, oh, you
style.
got to have the Chicago pizza. And I'm just like, well, where's the Domino's? And
I,
people are like, are you crazy? And I'm like, I love the chicken bacon ranch, thin crust. And now I'm like kind of becoming a pizza snob here on the Northeast. So what's your favorite?
New Haven style, absolutely. New Haven,
Okay.
it by far, at least to me, it's that thin, super thin crust, no
Yep.
flop, a little
Yep.
bit of sauce, not greasy, just
Uh,
ultimate nice and thin, like not football pizza where it's thick, but just nice thin, super thin crust pizza is where it's at for me. But hey,
yep.
pizza's
I would
pizza.
agree.
I eat it all across the board. I don't hate no matter what it is. But Felicia, thank you so much again for taking the time to
Thank
jump
you.
on to see what you're doing throughout the industry and paving the way, not just for Bud Van Lines to become even more successful than they are, but for women in this industry as a whole to give them hope, to show them love, and to know that hey, we always got somebody in Felicia here that we can confide in and help us get through
Yes.
whatever that it may be. So again, thank you for
Yes.
joining the humans of
Thank
moving.
you.
And thank everybody for watching the show. If you'd like to be a part of the show or on the podcast, whether you're a mover or shaker, or you're just as passionate about this industry as Felicia and I are, please send me a note, call, text. Email is info@supermove.com, and we'll see you at the next episode. We'll see you, Felicia.